Welcome into Sports Memo's Betting Podcast, NFL, every game on the board with our first guest up, Teddy Covers. Teddy, welcome to the pod. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing all right, Drew. How about yourself?
I'm doing good as well. Interested to get your opinion here on these NFL games. We got the, first half? Teddy Covers will break down. Then we'll bring in minty bets on the back half, starting with the Miami-New York Giants game in that second half. But first up here, Teddy, 305-306, Sunday, December 15th. We got Tampa Bay at the Detroit Lions, seeing Tampa Bay -3 in the hook on the highway, 46 the total in first game up, Teddy.
Well, you excited about backing the Lions this week?
I am not. No, I am not.
That's the answer we're looking for. You're not. I'm not. The markets aren't. You know, the books are struggling. There's a handful of teams that the books are really struggling to attract money for right now. The Jaguars are one, certainly. That stand out. The Carolina Panthers are two. And Detroit's probably number 3 on that list right now. Lions just one win. And then 1-6 their last 7. Number 31st against the pass since they traded away Quandre Diggs. And, of course, without Stafford, number 30 in passing yards differential. When it comes to per attempt against their opponent, they're minus 1.7 yards per attempt. They can't throw the ball downfield. Blau's regressed. Just 300 yards passing over his last 6 quarters, 1 touchdown, 3 INTs, took 6 sacks, less than 5 yards per attempt. So Detroit can't run. Tampa's still real good at stopping the run. Detroit can't stop the pass, and Tampa's pretty good at throwing the football, even without Mike Evans. This is how do we say? It's a good matchup for Jameis Winston. Winston struggles against teams that put a lot of pressure on him. Detroit, number 29 in sack rate, dead last in QB hit rate, and of course, the comments coming out from former Lion Glover Quinn saying, we don't know if Detroit's even going to play hard down the stretch. There's no love in that locker room for Matt Patricia. This is not a home dog I'm interested in. Although, again, with Tampa, you're laying a leap of faith that Jameis isn't going to turn the ball over a bunch and that the Mike Evans injury is overcomeable. The Bucs are feeling good about themselves and playing good football. Laying more than a field goal on the road, I would lean that way, but I'm not getting the window with it.
Teddy, next game up, maybe another scenario, kind of, which side you want to go here. Philadelphia -4, 4.5. Man, they are beat up. Not sure if I want to be laying that on the road. And we're talking about Philadelphia Eagles at the Washington Redskins. Washington Redskins haven't exactly been lighting the world on fire this far in the NFL. 39 being the total here. Which side you leaning towards, Teddy?
Well, each of the last 2 weeks, the Redskins have fallen behind 14-0. And then been by far the better team the rest of the game.
Okay.
They beat Carolina straight up, dominated the last 40 minutes of that contest. And last week against Green Bay, again, down 14-0 early. The Redskins were right there. You can't call it a wire-to-wire spread cover because they were down 14-0 early. But for the entirety of the second half in that ballgame, Washington was in it. I don't know if you remember the first meeting between these two teams. I do. Again, it was back in week 1, but it was a crazy game. The Redskins were up 17 against Philly, and Deshaun Jackson caught 2 long touchdown passes and made things really interesting. And he allowed the Eagles to get the win, even without the cover. That was a long, long time ago for both of these teams. Certainly, I mean, Washington does not.
Bless you, Teddy. Bless you.
Wow,
that's all right.
I don't remember the triple sneeze on the pod very often, but cheers. Thank you.
Is the dog around? The cat? What do you got going on?
Nothing. So I had a little oral surgery the other day, and they had to dig into my sinus, apparently.
Oh, no.
So I've been on a little antibiotics, and I've been on a little bit. But the point is that I had a cold all week. Whatever. Nobody cares about my shit.
Give us a pick on this Philadelphia.
Yeah, exactly. Be a winner. Exactly. All right. So here's the story, though. Philly faced the abyss last week. All right. They were down 17-3. Their season could have been done. And the Eagles made the choice to fight and dig, and they fought and dug and won the game. They didn't cover the point spread. They never sniffed the point spread cover. But you know what? When you see a team that they have a choice right here, fight or don't. Mm-hmm. And Philly fought, and I give them credit for that. And when we look at what Washington has to do to be successful, there's only one thing the Redskins do to be successful. They have to run the football. All right, they were able to run the football against Carolina. They had success doing that last week against Green Bay. Ain't nobody running the football well against Philly these days. So if the Redskins fall behind 14-0 this week, I'm not convinced they're coming back. Eagles defense, last road game, they've been torched on the road all year. But their last road game, they closed out allowing 5 straight touchdown possessions to Ryan Fitzpatrick and company. And even last week, they got burned a couple times by Eli Manning. I do worry about that Philly secondary, but the Redskins have fought the good fight the last couple of weeks. They'll probably fight the good fight here. They have not matched up well with Philadelphia. I know they hung tough earlier, but the Eagles won the last 5 in this series, 4 of them by double-digit margins.
He's Teddy Covers. Follow him on Twitter at Teddy_Covers. I'm Drew Martin on Twitter at Drew Martin Bets. Feel free to reach out to us. Ask any questions you'd like answered on the podcast. Also, what you'd like to hear on the podcast. Always interested in that via social media. Guys, we have a special coupon code here for the podcast, TC69. You get his 7-day all-access package, talking about Teddy Covers here. Every NFL play, every college football play. We got college basketball, NBA as well from Teddy Covers for under $10 a day using the coupon code TC69 at checkout for his 7-day all-access package at sportsmemo.com. Teddy, let's head up to the NFC North here. 309-310 Chicago Bears at the Green Bay Packers. Packers laying 4 in Lambeau, 40.5 being the total here, Teddy.
Yeah, all the money's come on Chicago so far in this ball game, and that was my initial lean as well. The more I look at it, the less I'm excited about the Bears. The Bears have only covered 1 point spread on the road all season long. This hasn't been their MO. Going on the highway and hanging tough. We remember the first meeting between these two teams. It was Packers, 10-3 on Thursday Night Football to open the season. That was a defensive scrum. Bears defense isn't what it was then. You talk about, and obviously there's been injuries, a big piece of the equation. Without Roquan Smith, without Danny Trevathan, they've had problems shutting down opposing running games. You know what Aaron Jones is doing right now? He's running the football every week. They may get Akeem Hicks back in this ball game. I'm not convinced he's going to be 100%. And you want to talk home road dichotomy. We don't talk about that a lot in the NFL. The Packers, yards per play on offense, number 2 at home, number 31 on the road. That's significant. And we're talking about December, that's significant. Mm-hmm. So we have a Bears defense that's shown vulnerability to the run. A Packers team that's shown the ability to run the football, a Packers offense that works much better at home than it does on the road, and a Bears team that's only covered 1 point spread away from home all season. So my initial lean toward Chicago and saying, Trubisky's playing better, and their running game is working right now, and they're in revenge against the divisional foe and catching more than a field goal in what should be a tight defensive game. Yeah, that's the lean. I'm not convinced I get to the window with it.
Teddy, next game up, we got a kind of fascinating handicap here. A lot of people with different opinions on the Patriots. A buy low opportunity, or is this run they've been on finally over? We'll find out at least part of the equation here on Sunday. We got 3-11-3-12 New England Patriots at the Cincinnati Bengals. Looks like the Pats now laying doubles on the road, mostly 10 out there in the marketplace. Chris is showing a 9 in the hook. 41.5 the total here, Teddy.
Yeah, you're talking about laying doubles on the road with the team that scored 16, 22, 13, 17, and 20 in their last 5 games, and they lost 3 times during that span. Obviously, it's a Patriots offense that isn't clicking on all cylinders here in December. And you look at the Bengals defense, and again, they haven't faced one elite offense after the next, but what are they giving up to last? They've been fighting. They give up 17 to the Raiders, 16 to the Steelers, and 6 to the Jets, and 20 to the Browns, So from a recent form standpoint, a Patriots offense that's struggling and a Bengals defense that's playing fairly well, it's not easy to make the case for New England until you put history into the equation. Of course, the Patriots are 41-17 against the spread off a loss since 2003. That's a significant sample size, and it's 70+% ATS long-term run in this role. Of course, they were in this role last week and lost, but that was against a good team. Since he's not a good team, the Patriots haven't lost 3 straight games since 2002. But I don't think we're talking about New England losing this. The question is, are they going to win it by double-digit margin? There's an interesting differential here. Patriots, they still, despite their struggles to put points on the board, they put up a lot of chunk plays on offense. The Bengals, especially compared to what they allow on defense, the Bengals dead last in the NFL in terms of what they gain on offense, 20-yard plays, versus what they allow on D. They're minus 34 in that category. You want Andy Dalton against an angry Bengals team? I don't. Angry Patriots team?
Yeah.
I'm not convinced I do. But it's very clear right now New England is not the best team in the NFL. And it's hard for me to get to the window laying double digits with the team that the markets haven't crashed on. And they're just not clicking right now. All that said, I had to make a bet. It'd be Patriots.
Yeah, Teddy, I mean, I bring up the word, it's fascinating handicap just because it's almost like everybody's like, oh, man, the Patriots, they're terrible. They're, the run is over. And you're right. I want to bring up, kind of the other side of this, the contrarian bet, maybe a buy low on the Patriots. But you're right. They haven't crashed on them. I mean, they're still laying 10 here. It's not like, in my opinion anyway, too low of a buying point. How do you feel about that situation?
Yeah, I mean, look, we thought about, like New England's on sale last week at home -3,
Right.
And no, they weren't.
Yeah.
I can understand the desire to bet the Patriots. It's not going to be me.
Okay, good stuff. Teddy covers Pats versus Cincy on Sunday. We also got another 1 o'clock Eastern here, 10 a.m. Pacific kick, Houston at Tennessee. Looks like the Titans -350 the total, Teddy.
So if you take any look at Houston's season or Tennessee's season-long stats, they're lying to you. Because you have to look at before Tannehill and after Tannehill. Since Tannehill's been the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans, they're the best offense in the league. They're averaging just shy of 4 touchdowns a game. Baltimore's number 2. All right. They have tripled their no-huddle rate on offense. All right, so in terms of seconds per snap, pace-wise, they were number 27 with Mariota. Now they're number 12. Okay, points per snap has doubled since Tannehill's taken over the last 6 weeks. This is not a team whose full season numbers are telling the truth. So, in general, teams like Tennessee are moneymakers. The issue, of course, is that, number one, you do worry about Tennessee's ability to do it week after week. Number two, the Texans, this is their role, okay? When you talk about Houston last week, they had a real flat spot against New England, and they got jumped on early, and it was ball game early. So now, in theory, bounce back spot against a divisional foe, everything on the line. You have a head coach and a quarterback who've been excellent ATS in this role. You can understand why this number is what it is. Oh, and by the way, the Tennessee cluster injuries in the secondary. They could be without 3 of their top 4 cornerbacks this week. Worth noting, though, Houston's defense has been gashed. I mean, really, it has not been good since J.J. Watt got hurt. And you look at the total in this ballgame, it's not through the roof. We're not talking about a total of 51. The divisional matchups tend to attract under money. This one's not attracting under money, and I can understand why.
Teddy, I love what you brought up, man. You start talking about change here with Tannehill at the quarterback position, both total and sidewise. Tennessee won 4 straight, both straight up and ATS against the number. And Houston, 2-5 last 7 ATS. They've been a money burner. Plus the fact change with Tannehill at the quarterback position, 391 pass yards against Oakland just last week. And your stat, they've tripled their no-huddle rate since Tannehill took over. That's a great stat there, man. How'd you find that?
I got good sources.
He's Teddy Covers on Twitter, at Teddy_Covers.
I do. I know excellent sources.
I know you do. You're Mr. Las Vegas out here, man. And people can jump on your service, 7-day all access, less than $10 a day. sportsmemo.com, coupon code TC69 at checkout. Teddy, we got Seattle versus Carolina. Up next, Seahawks, 6.5 on the highway, 49 the total.
So, I had the opportunity to talk with John Murray from the Superbook USA over at the Westgate earlier today on my Wager Talk show. Of course, that's you can watch that every day from noon to 1 Pacific time, 3 to 4 Eastern time, right before your show, Drew, on the Sports Grid Network. And we were talking about this game, and he's like, look, nobody's betting the Jaguars, and nobody's betting the Panthers. And I'm like, nobody? He's like, nobody. Carolina has the feel of a dead team walking. Seattle's coming off a poorly played loss. They were not happy campers after losing to L.A. last week in a game where they played poorly. Really, all three phases of the game: offense, defense, special teams. None of them were any good for the Seahawks last week. They were flat. It had been a long series of tough games. Seattle's been another team real good off a loss in the Pete Carroll era with a significant sample size. They've been much better than most West Coast teams in terms of traveling east for the early start games. In fact, they've been great. And they're facing a Panthers defense that has let go of the rope repeatedly in recent weeks. Last 5 games, opposing teams have scored on more than half of their possessions against Carolina. That's second worst in the NFL. And you look at the matchups here, even without Rashad Penny, for Seattle. Chris Carson's supposed to be able to run the ball right down their throats, and Russell Wilson's supposed to be able to have a big day passing. And, of course, with Carolina and the interim coach and Perry Fuel, look, last week was a turnover game, and last week was a road game. And this is a home game where, in theory, they're supposed to show up. And the issues last week with the play call. Remember, Dante Jackson called out the coaching staff after the game. He said, we ran stuff. We didn't practice it. I didn't know what the hell we were doing. Of course, he's the guy that got burned for a couple of touchdowns. But at home, I think pretty early on, we're going to be able to see if Carolina, if the effort and intensity is there for the Panthers. If it's not, this one could be a runaway train. Might be a good game for live betting. And if it is, we've seen it's not like the Panthers have been a dead team walking for months. And it's not like they're not capable of hanging around in a game like this. And it's not like Seattle's blowing every team out. The Seahawks are winning games on the road all year. They haven't been winning by margin. All that said, if I'm playing, I'm laying.
Liking the favorite there, Teddy Covers. Follow him on Twitter at Teddy_covers. Guys, 199 and 156. That's 56% in the NFL since 2015. That's last 5 years running, hitting 56% in the sharp markets in the NFL. Not many people out there in the world doing it better than Teddy Covers in NFL betting. Check out his 7-day all access for less than $10 a day using the coupon code TC69 at checkout. Teddy is also hitting NBA since February, 59 and 46, 56% and 58% in the NFL and college combined just last year, 2018. So also don't forget about his bowls, college football bowls, last 4 years, 31 and 21. That's a 60% clip in college football bowl games. We talk about it all the time. It's a different season in bowl games, a way different handicap, and Teddy has found a market here that has had success, 60% over the last 4 years in college football bowl games. You can get all of the sports, all of the plays he released, sportsmemo.com, 7-day all access, less than $10 a day. TC69 at checkout is the coupon code. Last game up here for this section, then we'll bring in Minty Bets to finish off the back half of the NFL Every Game on the Board podcast. We got Denver at Kansas City, AFC West matchup here, Teddy, 45 being the total. Looks like minus doubles again. Seeing 9.5 out there, anywhere from 9.5 to 10.5. That's the Kansas City Chiefs laying an Arrowhead.
So it's only 3 games, but it's 3 games against, the Patriots, Raiders, and Chargers that are, in theory, at least league average teams on offense. Kansas City's shutting them down. They give up 17 or less in every game. Allowed a touchdown on only 4 times in 32 drives over the last 3 games. And if the Chiefs ever get a defense, this team's going to, scary good. And we saw, obviously, early in the season, a lot of issues defensively, much like last year for Kansas City. That hasn't been the case in recent weeks. Boy, Reed has dominated his divisional opponents. 25-3 straight up, 20-8 ATS since 2015. 4-0 straight up and against the spread this year. They've beaten Denver 7 of the last 8 meetings straight up and against the spread. when their defense is better. And you have Drew Lock coming off a perfect game. I mean, Lock was unbelievable last week. 85% completions, 11 yards per attempt. That was after, in his debut, he was 4.8 yards per attempt against the Chargers. Is that going to translate to Arrowhead against an improving Kansas City defense? I'm not convinced that it will. The issue, of course, with laying with Kansas City is that Patrick Mahomes is not healthy. He's not right. And you read the reports out of practice, and it's a concern. He's got a hand injury, and we've seen his accuracy not be what it was earlier in the season. You look at the numbers the last couple of weeks, it's pretty clear. Broncos' pass defense is pretty good. It certainly was last week against the Texans, and that's a good passing offense. So, the total, at first glance, this total looked low to me. I'm like, wow, why is the total as low as it is? The more I look at it, the more you might expect a lower scoring affair in Kansas City on Sunday.
Teddy, great stuff as always. We talked about maybe throwing out some playoff college football playoff games in terms of where you think the line might be going, just to kind of throw these two games out here, Oklahoma and LSU. Also talking about the other playoff game here in Scottsdale, Ohio State versus Clemson. Seeing Clemson taking a little money, -2. Also seeing 13.5. LSU laying against Oklahoma here, the number 4 team, Sooners. Did you just want to throw out any quick comments on maybe jumping on a side or a total for these two playoff games?
So we could talk about where the early money has come, and we could talk about where we can expect the game day money to come, or the money to come in the 24 to 48 hours before.
Sure.
And let's start with LSU, Oklahoma, where the early money has come on LSU. And surprisingly, maybe, I mean, the total opened pretty high. It was as high as 79.5 as on spot. There's even under money so far. Mm-hmm. Okay. When you talk about that last 48 hours before kickoff, it's going to be money for the favorite and money for the over. You can count on that. So if you like Oklahoma, you can hold out and wait. Maybe you see a 14. But if the 14s are out there, I don't think they're going to be there for long. And if you like the LSU side, I wouldn't hesitate to get a 13 now. And again, the total will get bet up at some point, the back up, I should say. But it may come. I mean, I haven't seen any indications yet that that's about to happen. So if you like over, it's probably not a bad time to strike. When it comes to Clemson, Ohio State, I don't think that game's ever going to get to 3. If it gets to 3, it'll be a New York minute. LSU has a chance to get to 14 and hold. Clemson has no chance to get to 3 and hold, and the bookmakers know that. So we'll see 2.5 with juice before we see a 3 on that ball game. When it comes to the total, we've seen a little bit of over money, and I can't see that going on indefinitely. That's, Clemson's got a good defense. It's not, and I know they're coming off this, 69-17 against Virginia that flew over the total on a day where not many games did go over the total. But I would think that there may be some sharp money on the under on that one. They're going to wait till it gets bet up as high as it's going to go. At some point, I would not be shocked at all to see under in Clemson, Ohio State. So I guess that means if you like the over, you might want to wait.
And when you say sharp money towards the under, talk about matchup handicapping here. Pretty much all these offenses are top notch here, Teddy. But does the under money kind of speak towards, it's extra preparation time, it's playoff atmosphere? These teams are going to kind of go at it with, I hate to say defensive minded, but we've seen it in the past in terms of, not taking too many chances here with the national championship really on the line with the extra preparation time for the playoff bowl games here. Is that the reason you say, possibly sharp money here in the future towards the under?
I think there's respect for both defenses, and especially Clemson's defense. There's a lot of respect for Clemson's defense because it's really good, and their statistical profile is through the roof. So when you have a defensive profile like this and an extended layoff between games, historically we've more often seen under money come in these type of contests, and I would expect I can't promise it, but I can expect that's what I expect to see. at some point before kickoff. I expect to see some sharp money on the under in this one, just based on a statistical profile.
All right, good stuff. As always, Teddy covers NFL Every Game on the Board pod. We'll bring in Minty Bets, finish off the rest of the NFL card. And, guys, remember the coupon code TC69 at checkout for a 7-day all-access package, less than $10 a day. sportsmemo.com, coupon code TC69 at checkout. Teddy, anything else you want to throw out before we shut this down?
Promises. I was like, I can't promise that. I'm not a politician, dude. We're sports bettors. Cheers. Have a great weekend, guys. Best of luck in the NFL.
All right, Teddy, be safe. And, guys, we'll have Teddy back on Monday with the opening line report, NFL style, with Teddy covers. Guys, best of luck with your bets. We'll be right back with Minty Bets, finishing off the NFL Every Game on the Board podcast.